Hello, welcome to Oxford Heirlooms. Now today I'm working on hemming the garment. I've got the button sewn on and I've got the garment button shut so that I can make sure that from left to right the hem lines up. Now this particular garment calls for a 2-inch hem. So what I'm going to do is, using my marking pen, I'm going to go along the bottom of the garment starting at the center so that I can mark both centers at the same time. And I'm going to mark a little dot at 2 inches so that once I fold the bottom of the hem up 1/4 of an inch, I will know where to fold for it to be 2 inches. Because sometimes my 1/4 of an inch, as much as I try to make them even, they sway a little bit, okay? Now this particular garment flares on the side, so when I pin the hem in place, I will have to accommodate the flare here at the bottom of the garment. But let me continue to mark my little 2-inch marks all along the bottom of the garment. The backs and the fronts are really no trouble. It's just those 2 side seams where the garment flares that you have to take some particular care with. Okay, so I've got that marked all the way around. Okay, so now I'm going to turn the garment inside out. I've got my iron heated up. You turn the garment inside out, put it back on the ironing board. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to iron 1/4 inch of the bottom of the garment up, just kind of estimating. And like I said, the reason I do the 2-inch marks is because when I iron this 1/4 of an inch, I'm not always sure I get it exactly at 1/4 of an inch all the way along. So the 2 inches will be my go-to mark. Okay, I got the other side of the back to do. Let's get it at 1/4 of an inch. And give it a little press. Do this side seam again. And come on around the front. There we go. Okay. Okay, now I've got my pins, got my silk pins handy. And let's see, I need to, I'm gonna unbutton this bottom button for just a minute because it'll kind of be in my way. There we go. Okay, now I'm gonna fold it up to the little blue mark that I put on the front of the garment. And then I'm gonna pin that in place. Now I'm gonna pin the fronts and the backs, and I'm gonna work on those side seams last because I gotta do a little bit of fancy folding in order to get them to lay flat. Because since the garment flares, we don't really wanna try to ease it in because otherwise you'll end up with some puckers in your hem, and that's not a pretty look. Okay, start working on the back. Kind of start in the center and work my way towards the sides. When I get it pinned all the way, well, I tell you what, in order to save time, I've got one seam ready to fix up. So I will go ahead and fold in for that side seam and get that pinned in place. Now what I'm gonna do, let me take that one pin out for a minute. Take 2 pins out for a minute. Okay, I'm going to lay the seam down straight. Hope you can see this. And then I'm going to fold my 2 hem pieces to where they match at the side. Let me get that hemmed into place, and I'll show you that in a close-up in just a minute. Okay, so they pretty much match on the sides of the garment, and they lay flat. Okay, can you see what I've done? Okay, all right, so this will take me a minute to continue to pin and then do the other side seam. Okay, I've got that pinned and the hem does match up in the center, which is what I wanted. Okay, now I'm gonna use a needle and thread and I will whip stitch this hem in place. Now, if you have another favorite stitch, like maybe a blind stitch or some other kind of fancy hem stitch that you like to do, you know, by all means do that. But I just kind of started hem stitching, and that tends to be what I do. Okay, it's easy for me and it works out real nicely. But I'll be back in a minute once I get that hemmed. Okay, so I have hemmed the garment, and I have also inspected it for little blue marks. So my iron is warm, so I'm gonna go ahead and press my hem in place. Make it nice and neat. And like I said, since I adjusted at the seam, my hem does not pucker because of the flare of the fabric. So just iron down that seam as you're going along. And that works real well. For some reason, I don't like to actually iron my hem until actually I have it sewn into place. And I don't remember why I got in the habit of doing that, but it's just something that I do. Okay. There we go. Okay, let me put my iron out of the way, and I'll button this last button that I unbuttoned when I was hemming the garment. See if I can see that little buttonhole. I'm missing the buttonhole here. There we go. I think these buttons are maybe just slightly bigger than 1/4 of an inch because they're a little bit tight to go through the bottom of the garment. There we go. Okay, all right. Now, didn't that just turn out lovely? And this, like I said, this is the Children's Corner pattern Missy. It's got little smock sleeves with a lace detail, hand embroidery in between the buttonholes, smocking up at the neckline, and beautiful little buttons coming down the front. So this is a gift for a friend of mine, but this is the final video for project number 10. And I think I've already started the introductory video for project number 11 that I'm calling Lavender at Light Speed. But now that I've got finished with this, I need to get started working on project number 11. So thank you.